Hey, good morning, everybody. Today is August 2nd. Thanks for joining me. I'm Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. Glad you're here with me. And Kelly, your first one in from the great state of Texas. Glad to have you here. We're broadcasting today both on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So wherever you're joining in from, if you would do me a favor and just post in the comments whereabouts are you joining in from. If you want to go crazy, you can put in what you sell as well. That's always kind of nice to see the different type of retailers we have. We have I don't know, last week I think we had something like 10,000 between the two of you. So I'm thrilled we have our little audience together. Well, not little, it continues to grow, and on pretty much every continent. So thanks very much for joining me here this morning, and happy August. You know, we're getting closer to we're in back to school theoretically, right? We're getting closer to the holidays and Christmas, and people are starting to think about, well, imagine what we were doing March 13th and thinking, wow, so much has come to pass since then. And that goes for you too on LinkedIn. Do me a favor, type in where you're joining me from today. I always like to know that. So today I thought I would just talk a bit about marketing, and I tell this story in my keynote speeches, which now are virtual, but I won't go into the whole story because it's quite a story. But basically, there was one of my very first clients was a little coffee roaster in Long Beach, California. And to make a very long story short, I pretty much came in and offered my services if I pretty much took over his business with hiring and firing and training and marketing. And sales went up 11% the first month. We had only one employee who had started, was still with me. 30 days later, we had a whole new crew. And after about a year, the sales went up 50%. And the second year, they went up 40%. And that's when I went to the local free newspapers. And I said, hey, would you put in a story about this? And they're like, sure. And they did little stories about it. And then I did one for the LA County, and they covered it. And several other ones started picking it up. And there was like this whole movement, this whole groundswell of opinion. And then Cal State Long Beach had the MBA students come down and interview me like, how did you do this? And they had done a whole survey that in the whole trade area, something like 85% of people knew our tagline, and it was amazing. And were we just using coupons? And it was like, yeah, no, we're not using coupons. It had nothing to do with it. So I thought, well, there's got to be a bigger story here. So I just took a hunch and I called up the New York Times city desk and got the business editor. And I said, would you be interested in the story about how the little guy beat the big guy? And after about 3 minutes, they said, sure. And I did an interview in July. And then Joel Kotkin, who ended up becoming an economic fellow at all kinds of prestigious universities around Southern California. And time passes. I'm, waiting each month. Oh my gosh. Well, I had a speech in Manhattan, and I walked down to get the paper in the lobby on Sunday morning in October. And I flipped it over, and there on the bottom was a picture about that big around of me and Mike. And it said, to refer you to the business page. So the business page you just fold back to, and there the entire top half was meet the category killer, and that was the story of me and Mike. And I share that with you for one simple reason, that people like stories of hope. Right now, it is easy for business writers. I don't care if you're watching me you work for a big department store or you're any kind of small or medium-sized retailer. It is easy for reporters to say, 18 million people are closing. No one's working retail. No one's shopping retail. Retail is a dinosaur. And Amazon and Walmart are the great gods of retail now. And you're letting that whole dialogue be eclipsed by those people because they each, Walmart and I think Amazon, both have about 1,000 people at work just in PR, just to find something to be able to get a story out. And yet a lot of you have great stories to talk about: your contactless payments, your way that you've changed your technology, you've integrated your shopping site. Some of you are doing fashion shows. Some of you are doing new innovative ways to get more merchandise out. You're doing video selling. They want to tell that story, but you're kind of like that, handsome guy or pretty woman who is just sitting in the room like, well, they'll find me. They won't find you. You have to go out there and promote it. You have to be able to find a way, find the angle, find the hook. Same idea. Would you be interested in how a small business is using new technology to reinvent ourselves in a time of COVID? Absolutely. They're going to take that story. Then make sure you have 3 concrete things you've done. You can't just say, well, we're doing live videos. That's not it. You have to sound like I had a strategy, we executed it, and here's the results. And if you're not willing to tell the results, sales went up 20%, our average check went up 5%, it doesn't matter. The reporter is going to say, well, this doesn't really resonate, because people want to read stories of hope. They want to see you in that story and say, well, if she did it, I can do it. And if you have trouble with that, then figure it out, because honestly, you can pay for PR, but if you just figure it out and you get this right, as you go into the holidays, you'll be able to duplicate it in a couple of months, and you'll be able to get a better story, because most people just don't have a story. So craft the story, make it compelling, and ultimately, you want to be able to tell the story that coronavirus is happening for you. This is like unleashed creativity. It's unleashed a new sense of purpose. It's connected you around the world. That's what we want to hear. But the easy one for them to write is, coronavirus is killing everyone. And that's just fundamentally about businesses, people, you name it. Well, there's an awful lot of you been chiming in. And by the way, if you do me a favor, if you're on LinkedIn, you can use the little applause buttons. If you're on Facebook, you can certainly use the love, or you can certainly use the little thumb up. Any of those would be helpful, because otherwise the algorithm doesn't see what you're doing, and we want it to see what we're doing. So I have an awful lot of comments here this morning from all of you. And if you have a comment while I've gone live, I will try to answer that. And when I'm done, I will certainly do my best to answer as well. But if you have a question you want to have me chat with you about, just let me know. Hey, John, glad you're here from Huntsville, Alabama. We appreciate your business. Rachel, good morning from Ohio, selling skincare and cosmetics, big time. Don't let people tell you that nobody is using cosmetics because they're not going out. People using cosmetics, it's up to us to figure it out, right? Cheryl, I have a kick-ass quilt shop in Colchester, Connecticut. Okay, then. I love that. And Tim, staying up late in Melbourne, Australia. That's awesome. And Tristan, you're there from Boston. And for whatever reason, I don't seem to be seeing my LinkedIn peeps this morning. I guess StreamYard is not connecting them. But in any event, let's get to your questions, because that's why you are here. Glad you're here, Kathy, from Pasco, Washington. And by the way, you can join in anytime. Let me know where you're here from. And if you have a question you can answer, I'll answer it live. Kelly says, live sales, Facebook is getting inundated with them, and sadly, most of them are annoying. Is there a better format? I can't tell you how many I scroll past because their face is in the camera, waving the product around and stopping to squint at the comments, then respond with, hey, girl, how are the kiddos? We got to get together soon, blah, blah, blah. Oddly, I don't see those. There are very few that are done that look and act professional. I'm afraid it's going to ruin it for everyone. Well, that's interesting, Kelly. I would say, first off, all you can control is your own. So if you're doing it, don't do that. Have a reason for going live and not just showing up with just random stuff. And we've also got this. Do you see this? You should buy this. I don't think anybody wants to have that experience. I know I certainly don't want to have that. So have a purpose, but also realize they're not your friends. These are potential customers, and there is a difference. Crossing it over and trying to make it in, and some people, they feel like this is their family now, which again, if you want that, you can do that on your personal page. Your goal for a Facebook Live would be to be able to connect with your customers a different way like I do, or to be able to show them how your product does something for them, not buy this from me. Does that make sense? So tell a story if you can, have a point. There was a struggle, you tried to find the solution and you found it with this, and you think it would help somebody too. And then what do you want them to do? Take some kind of action. But quite simply, if you don't like what people are doing, I would certainly say, don't follow them anymore. But most people are meeting with good success with virtual. I know that certainly from my own personal business, I haven't been on a stage since March the 9th, I think. And right now I have been meeting more and more people virtually. And for the short term, that's where it's going to be. But ultimately, you're going to have to figure it out and say, this works for my brand, this doesn't work. And just take notes of what you don't like. I wouldn't get too into it. All right. So some of you have been asking me, what have I got around my neck? This is not some cool Robert Graham shirt, although there's some of you think I should have my own line of shirts. I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying, if you're listening, Robert Graham. But today at 11:20, I'm officially receiving my National Speakers Association Certified Speaking Professional. And when I first started out, 26 years ago, the CSP designation was something that, Tony Robbins has and all these guys. And it finally hit me, I don't know, about a year ago. I should try to figure out what this thing is. And what it is you have to go back the last 10 years of your clients. You have to make sure all their information is correct. You send that off to the organization. They randomly check with these people. Then there's a survey that goes out. You have to meet a certain amount of high quality of people who hired you and what they think, et cetera, et cetera. Then your video has to go out and be vetted by 4 other people who are certified speaking professionals. And you have to make a mark of how much you made in speaking. And eventually you get down to this part. And so today at 11:20, I would have been walking across in Washington, D.C. For the ceremony today. But obviously with virtual, I'm pretty much just going to be in my room looking at it on my Apple TV. So it's very exciting. So yes, so that's what I'm wearing today, just in honor of that, because you know what? A lot of us do things and we forget to mark them in our lives. We just kind of like, oh yeah, I did that. Well, no, sometimes you have to anchor it. So whatever it takes to anchor it, you're going to wear something, you're going to have a special meal, you're going to treat yourself, reward yourself, you're going to write a poem, it doesn't matter, but do something to mark the achievements, so that as we get older, you're going to reach back to those and be like, oh, I'm afraid of things. You look at these achievements you've done, they're kind of like rungs on a ladder, and you're like, oh yeah, I did that, I did that, I did that. You take solace, and that's what girds you that, hey, I've done some pretty great things. But if everything just kind of goes into the netherworld, I think it's really hard to be able to anchor that. So thanks for asking, CSP. There you go. All right. Top Fan John says, interviewing and hiring during COVID. We've always met face-to-face with people and like to see their face and them see ours, of course. Is that fair to have interviews without a mask? Is it fair to have interviews without a mask if distance from each other? Is it fair? I don't know what fair means, but certainly, why couldn't you, 6 feet away? You want to see their face, I guess. I mean, you could also do it on the other side of some plexiglass too, or there's various ways to do it. I'm not sure what difference the mask makes in an interview. Either they've done what you are going to ask them to do and they're going to prove it to you. Give me a time you gave an exceptional experience to a customer, and they can say, oh, this woman came in for X. I asked her a few questions. She ended up purchasing Y and ultimately ended up getting 3 more items, which did this and this. And she wrote a letter afterwards saying it had done this and this and this. Okay, that person is great. Does that need a mask? Probably not. Although, frankly, I don't know why you wouldn't just do a Zoom interview to start with for people, because it's more convenient for them, more convenient for you, and you still get an idea of what they look like. You have a second part to this. Also, do you ask for COVID testing before an interview or before starting work? In my opinion, it'd be a bit much to ask for it for an interview, but if wait until hiring and already met and they happen to have it, chances are that it's already been passed along. Or do I just assume that the risk is no different than any of our customers? I think you answered your own question on that. Look, as we all realize, just because I take a test today on Sunday, August 2nd, if I don't get the results till the 11th or 12th, the reality is that even if I had it, I've probably infected other people. So I don't think you want to go down that road, would be me. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, though, and he was talking about how his store, everybody has to go through and frequently wash and wear their mask and all these kind of things. And he's standing in the grocery line behind one of his employees, and the guy's getting ready to pay. And he says, where's your mask? And he's like, oh, I left that in the car. I don't use it unless I'm at work. And he's like, what do I do? It's like, you can't control your employees. So let's not get a distraction. Your goal is to close more customers that walk in the door. So let's keep your focus on that. Bryce, I want to start offering bundles of my children's toys and clothes to purchase. What are your thoughts on best strategies to maximize number of responses and sales? Should there be a discount? Choose an item from different categories and groups. Choose any 4 or simple and offer just what offered. What price range would get the most interest now and during the holidays? Well, you ask a lot of questions, Bryce. My last blog post that I did last Sunday addressed the concept that Professor Scott Galloway calls the rundle, which is the recurring bundle. That is much better than thinking of just bundling things together. So think 12 months of science experiments for 7-year-olds and have someone sign up, and every month you're going to send them something so that for $24.95 every month, you're going to get in that. That's where I would put my money. I wouldn't try to overthink it, because quite simply, toys and clothes that you're going to randomly put together, to get scale on that, I think is just really hard. Whereas if you had 12 months of experiments, you could look it out. You could say 6 months of crafting, almost like a flowers of the month. I would prefer that option than trying to come up with something complex, because one thing we're noticing right now is people want curated, they want quick, and they want convenient. I don't want to have to figure out 1 from column A and 6 from here, or what if this does and that. Just make it really make your offer really, really clear. I hope that helps. I have some more questions here, but I'm going to sneak down here to your questions, because I thought I might have seen one here coming in. I thought I just saw something. Rachel, my business is absolutely thriving during all this. You got to change the way you do things, though. Exactly. Holly, I'm not sure your question. What changes did you make that had success? Does that mean like in Mike? Mike was a whole matter of training and sales training and being able to not just clerk the merchandise. We had to actually drive average tech, drive average number of items, and get people to come back more often. So that's the key to having a business that increases. And if you want to learn more about that, I don't have time to take you into all 100 lessons of Sales RX, but you should go to salesrx.com. And those of you you've heard this every week and don't sign up, I don't know what you're looking for, because you're patting yourselves on the back. It's all going to be fine. Make no mistake, we are not out of the woods yet in retail. I'm not here to, make you feel bad, but quite simply, there's an awful lot going on. As whatever happens with pennies getting closed down, as they maybe get bought by Belks or whatever, we are going to be flooded with a lot of retailers clearing out merchandise and going out of business. And what that does is that sucks up available money that you can have. So you need to market better. And more importantly, people that walk in, you can't just have employees who are nice. We all like nice employees. Oh, they're really friendly. Can they sell? Do they like to sell? Do they know how to sell? Probably not. And they're selling from their own wallets? Probably they are. So how are you going to go over that? Is you're going to have to train them, and you're going to have to associate that I can do this. I'm going to need to change, and I'm going to look for a program and a mentor of somebody who's been there before, which is me, because I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm the guy that spent all this time baking the cake, 25 years figuring it out. Oh, it's the exact way to make the perfect cake. If you just buy the recipe, you don't have to wait for those 25 years to figure it out. I've already figured it out. There it is. There it is. Sales RX. There you go. Thanks for the congrats, all those people. Thanks so much. That's great. We love that. Thanks for letting me know. That's great. That's great. Cynthia, it was a really good blog post. Again, if you go to retaildoc.com/blog, you'll find the one I did last time. Roberta says, awful reception this morning. I don't know what that means, but it's the same. It's probably because we have big thunderstorms around the area. I hope that's not a bad experience for any of you. Let's get on so I can get off, and give me some love, some hand claps if you're on LinkedIn. That'd be great. Robert, some of the majors are closing at 6 p.m. instead of the customary 9. Is it dangerous in the long term for retailers to shrink their hours? In some stores, I used to make my whole day in the last 30 minutes after people ate dinner. So, Robert, the thing that's happened is we aren't commuting anymore. We aren't going anymore. It's fundamentally altering the way we used to think of retail. Because the biggest times in retail used to be 11 to 1 on a Saturday and 2 to 4 on a Saturday afternoon. And then I think it's 1 to 3 on a Sunday and 11 to 1 on a Sunday, depending on where your college teams are playing. Well, that's blown up because we can go shopping anytime now. And the good thing about that is that we don't need to necessarily stay open till 9 to be able to make it, as long as everybody knows that you're closing at 6, or maybe you're going to stay till 7. But I think it's a good thing, because I think a lot of people stayed open in the hopes that, people would come home, and on their way home, their commute, they would stop in. When they're not commuting, they can come in at any time. So, and that I think also influences when you open, because I think a lot of businesses still have in this idea they open at 10, whereas a lot of people probably would just assume you opened at 9. So consider that. If you want to do it, let me know. That's good. The more chances I can talk to somebody, the better. But again, remember, these hours were all created when all somebody could do would be to drive to a store. I should be able to reach you at any time of the day through your website, through a bot, through a Facebook Messenger, through social media, all of that, right? So that access should be easy, not just on those hours you're open. Last question coming in from Sue. Well, I've got a question from Melanie. What's your question? Good morning. Other than completed tasks, how do you suggest making sure employees working from home are working the hours they're paid for? It's a great question, Melanie. I don't have the answer for it. The reality is either you have hired people that you feel like you could give your keys to your car to them and you would trust them implicitly, or you don't. I think it's either black and white. If you're not that comfortable in your employees doing that, I don't think coming up with a list of 50 things they're supposed to do from home is going to help you. Actually, to follow up with that, if it was me, I would have them be taking Sales RX and going through a lesson and doing a Zoom call once a day with them and making sure that they're actually learning it. So when you do open up, you know that they've got that information locked in because you've been doing role play and you're actually moving your business forward, because you see that in the future, if all of these businesses are going out, and I was reading something recently, like something like 70% of restaurants have been marked permanently closed on Yelp since March 1st. So that might make you go, oh my God, that's terrible. Well, you know what? In about 6 months, it'll be a great time to open a new restaurant because people are going to be out and looking. We're going to be wondering, and there's going to be a shortage, and that's going to happen in retail too. Your competitors are going out. You just got to hang on to it. But ultimately, you're going to have to come back in a new way. We're calling it the comeback sprint. We're going to be offering it the last week of, I'm going to be doing two webinars, workshops in August. We one on the 18th talking about local marketing and different innovative ways you can do that. And then 2 weeks later, we're launching the comeback sprint, which will be pretty exciting. But all that comes down to you have to have a vision of where you're going to be in 6 months, believe it, see it, focus everything. And instead of asking why me and poor me and all these other things, you're asking, now, how am I going to do that? And leaning in and going, how am I going to do that? And if you want a partner and a mentor, somebody who's actually been there before, then you probably want to reach out to me and get Sales RX going and see what we can do with it. So there you go. He says my reception is fabulous, nice and clear. Okay. There you have it. Sarah, we work every day, 7 days a week, not letting up, open 10 to 5 every day. Holy crap. Good for you. Yes, I would agree. Customers do not want to guess when you're open. We have been in business for 25 years. Worst thing you can do is not keep constant hours. Yeah, I would have said that. And I think the point is if you're open 10 to 5, to me, 10 to 5 is still convenient for you. I think most people working at home are starting their days much earlier. I know myself, I'm starting my days at 5 a.m. and I'm going right up until probably 5 or 6 every day. So just understand those people are out there and finding a way to get to them. Where do you sign up for that, Kelly? It's real simple. You just go to salesrx.com, SALESRX.com. Last question. Sue, I still have not received some of my spring merchandise. Now when it arrives, I'll have stale product. By the way, I never cancel the order. That would take away the commission from my rep. It's that whole build a relationship with your customers thing I want to honor. My question is really about future orders and loyalty. Do we continue to be forward thinkers or hang on a maybe? So Sue, I believe in relationships. Don't get me wrong. But if you don't have all your spring merchandise, I don't know why it wasn't canceled already. So it's going to arrive stale. I would totally agree with that. But this idea that you need to take care of your customer, your vendor, more than yourself, you got to look at that. That's a limiting belief. The one to take care of is who? Customer first, your customers. Are they going to be thrilled with seeing stale product? No. Are you going to be a good business person when you get this brand new merch in? They've probably already seen in colors they've already seen earlier. Probably not. Is it going to move the needle of sales? Probably not. What are you going to feel like when you're paying that bill? I'm supporting Jane, who's a single mom with 14 kids. That's not a compelling reason to do business with that vendor. You do business because that vendor has compelling product that is going through and is able to serve your customers at a markup that's able to let you live the life you do. So just be careful we are not crossing our personal lives into our professional lives. And I could probably go into that too long about stores, how we hire friends and then we can't fire them, how we let people, because we know their story, who work for us, we let them get away with things. And then ultimately, one day it all comes home and you're like, oh my gosh, I am going to have to close my doors. It's like all of these little decisions have added up. So I hope that helps, Sue. And most importantly, I hope that you will go through and cancel the orders and find a way to, you can certainly try to maintain that. But remember, why is Amazon such a big focus? Why are they such a dangerous competitor? Because they're obsessively looking at the customer experience. They're obsessively looking at how many clicks it takes to get something ordered, obsessively looking at the time to get there, return policies, new ways that you can shop, all of that. That's what it always has to come back is, how do I get more for my customers, and how do I get more customers to really bond to me and want to hear more from me? That's what I think it is, Sue. So there you go. All right. So you have a lot of questions. You're a business, not a charity. Nicely said, Katie. I may have to put that on a toaster cozy and put that up at the local craft center. I don't know. I don't do toaster cozies. That was just it. All right, good. So in any event, I'm glad you're here. I hope you take away the idea that I had to getting, by the way, don't forget, I need this. Don't forget, I need this. Or if you're on LinkedIn, I need this. And ultimately, having one of these feels great for me, and I'm glad to say this in this moment. But ultimately, you've got to tell your positive story. Ultimately, you've got to find that success. You've got to actually pick up the phone. Don't wait for someone to call you and just say, hey, I've got a story. Would you be interested in? Because they don't want to write another story about how it sucks to be on Main Street or what terrible is with mall. What they want to hear is, what are you doing to get your customers back? And you can turn this, if you start looking at it as coronavirus is something that's happening for me to reinvent myself, not to me, and shrink for it. Let's gird our loins. Let's put on our big boy, big girl pants, and let's go do this thing. I'm Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. Thanks for joining me today on my podcast, on my Facebook and LinkedIn live broadcast. And if you want to find out more from me, go to retaildoc.com, DOC.com, and you can find SalesRx right at the top, online retail sales training. It's like Bob in a box, where I actually teach you exactly how to engage a stranger, discover the shopper, and more importantly, make the sale. Let's have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.